Namo Gurudev Namo Namo Gurudev Namo Hara 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 Hara.
I think anything that people don't understand very well is going to be kind of stigmatized in some way. You know, there's just the fear of the unknown. And mental processes by their nature are relatively invisible. It's always hard to talk about culture as a monolithic thing because it's so vast. However, I think in general our Western culture has stigmatized mental health and mental problems for a long time. We're kind of, in my view, coming out of the Dark Ages where it's become more acceptable to talk about those kinds of issues. I forget the statistic, but it's huge. Like 1 in 7 people have some significant mental health problem during their life. So it's something that's pretty common, but I do think that there is still a fair amount of stigma around dealing with those issues.
I was diagnosed with major depression when I was 16. I think it was easier for me to really deal with it because I had a lot of support at home, but it's definitely something that was really personal, and I still don't talk to my friends about it. I'm not one of those people who's like, hey, I'm Erin, I have depression. Like, people don't do that because people don't want to hear that, and at least personally for me, I want to be the person that people see as me and not like my depression. So I think that's also a big part of like why people don't talk about it, is because they don't want to be characterized as, oh, that girl or that boy who has depression or who has bipolar or something like that.
Well, I think that there is a stigma around mental health, and I think part of that is because it's not an illness that you can see. It's not something that you can do a blood test for. It's not something that you can see on your body, like a rash or a growth or something like that. It's something that happens in your head. And I think thereby people think that it's my fault that I have this illness. I did something. If I was only a stronger person, this wouldn't happen to me.
The easiest way for me to explain it would be there's a stigma against it because people don't like dealing with things that are hard, and it's so much easier for people to like go with the easy way of thinking and being like, oh, I'm fine or something like that, or they're fine, or they're just going through a phase or something like that, instead of actually addressing mental health and things that could possibly be wrong with someone.
People don't typically arrive at panic attacks overnight. You know, it's anxiety that builds and is unchecked, and it keeps getting worse and compounding until finally you arrive where, you know, you are totally freaked out and you need medication to deal with it. But it started probably as some much smaller thing, and if they learned how to handle that smaller thing, then maybe they may not have made it to that, you know, panic attack stage. So I think we have a lot to learn.
I think that our society needs to spend a lot more time talking about these issues. I think that so many people suffer in silence, and I think that a vast majority of the people with these illnesses feel very isolated by them. So they feel like, I'm suffering from depression or I'm suffering from anxiety, and nobody else in my social circle, nobody else in my work or my school is suffering from this same sort of illness. And when the truth of the matter is, you know, over 30% of the population is dealing with a mental illness at any one given time. And so clearly a lot of people are suffering.
It was hard because where I went for therapy, it was like an hour drive from where I live. And so I'd have to leave school early. So it was really like hard to like leave class and have people asking you, oh, Erin, where are you going? And you saying, oh, I have a doctor's appointment or something like that every single week, because people are like, okay, are you sick? Like, and I don't know, there's definitely a stigma around going to therapy. Like, people don't want to admit that, because once you say that, people are like, oh, there's something wrong with you. And I don't know, the way I see it is like, if you're going to therapy, it's not exactly that there's something wrong with you, it's that you're trying to help yourself.
I personally think it'd all be positive if we had a society that was more conscious and aware of mental health. And I like to phrase it as you did, as mental health versus mental illness, because I think that every single person has a degree of mental health, whether it's excellent health or not so great, poor health, but we all have a degree of mental health. And so I think that the more we can all be aware of where are we on that spectrum in any given time, then I think we can be more aware of what our needs are, what we're able to give or not give to other people. And so I think if we could raise awareness of that from a very young age, then I think that we would have probably more well-adjusted folks in our society.
I think a big part of mental health is finding out what your talents are and developing those and then using those, because that is what leads people to be, in my experience, to be happy and fulfilled.
Satanama.
I think yoga and meditation is another avenue of helping people find those kind of what their strengths are, what their strong points are, and then playing those. You know, play your strong suit. Why not? Yeah.
I've always been a really independent person. I don't want to be seen as someone who, like, people need to be careful around or people need to watch out for or something like that, because I am a really independent person. I love like I'm super driven to like whatever my goals are, but like sometimes like I need some help, and I think that's so human. That's like such a human aspect, but a lot of people are too scared or like to find that help that they need, and that's kind of sad that a stigma has gone that far, because a lot of people who do have really critical depression, like, they need that help.